So, G1 Supercard last night. A tale of two shows. On the one hand, the New Japan half the coin was very good. We got some great matches, namely Ospreay Cobb for both the Never and ROH World Openweight and Ring of Honor World Television titles, which I thought was going to end in no contest due to Tai Chi interference, but instead, Cobb ends up walking out with both titles after hitting an avalanche toward the islands off the top on Ospreay after he countered an avalanche stormbreaker attempt, and then hitting a regular tour of the islands on Ospreay to get the W. He went about 13 minutes. A crazy fatal four-way for both the IWGP Heavyweight and ROH World Tag titles, which saw my pick, GOD, come out on top, only to walk out with just the ROH World Tag titles because Toru Yano ended up stealing the IWGP Heavyweight ones. In one of my more shocking outcomes, Dragon Lee from the CMLL pinned Bandito to walk out of the triple threat, the 84th IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, something that I did not expect because historically the Junior Champ has walked out of the New Japan spring event with the title in hand. Not the case this time around. Though I do believe that because he was not pinned, not involved in the outcome, it keeps Ishimori strong, and more importantly, gets him a rematch at Wrestling Dontaku on May 3rd or 4th in Fukuoka. And then the two outcomes I didn't want, but would have expected in the former case, that being Ibushi beating Naito to finally capture the IWGP Intercontinental title, a belt he's been chasing for like 5 or 6 years, on and off. In what was arguably the match of the night, I pulled a Meltzer and broke my own 5-star scale, gave it 5 3/4. Gone a little bit longer, I would have given it a full 6, but what we got was awesome nonetheless. Definitely on the level, if not exceeding Tanahashi Omega, which Meltzer gave 5.5 stars. ZSJ retaining the Rev Pro British title over Tanahashi, which I did expect. I knew I skipped one. In a good 15-minute matchup. But then, and now I address one of the major elephants in the room, that being, much to my dismay, Okada is back on top of the mountain. Really? You took the belt off Jay White, New Japan? You took the belt off Jay White after only 7 weeks? Look, I get if the original plan was for Omega to hold on to the title all the way from Dominion to the Supercard, had Omega bothered re-signing with the company for another year. But since he chose not to, you cut him off at Wrestle Kingdom 13. Smart choice. Then you make the next smart move, taking the title off Tanahashi in Osaka 38 days later. And putting it on Jay White. Now, at most, I thought you were going to let him go the whole 118, going from New Beginning to Dominion. You did the same with Okada when he won it for the first time in 2012. But instead, you gave White a reign that was less than half that. At that as a test run. Which was, in my opinion, a stupid choice. Because now we're back to God-tier Okada. Though I get why you took it off him in the first place. To show how far his arrogance dropped him like a brick. Caused him to drop like a brick over the last 301 days. I was initially pissed after the outcome, but upon further reflection as I got up this morning, it made sense. And since you put the belt back on Okada, as much as I am begrudging to admit that fact. But now it's going to be the same song and dance. Unless White is given his rematch at Dominion and the belt hot potatoes back to him. Though in between, in Fukuoka, Okada's got his first defense on his 5th reign coming up, and that's against Sanada and Tentaku. But if this is to put Naito back in the title, back on top of the mountain, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Because again, then you'd be hot potatoing the title. And if you're doing that, this would be Okada's shortest title run. As he would only hold the title for, let's see, 30, 31, 9, 24 and 31 is 54. For only 63 days. For only 64 days. And 55. For only 64 days. That's barely over 2 months. And Okada's shortest reign to date was his first reign, and he held it for a little more than 4 back then, in 2012. But, on the other hand, this would mean for Okada to break Tanahashi's defense record, once he gets past 29, they're going to have him drop it then. Or even breaks 30, he's going to cumulative defenses, he's going to have to drop it then. To who? Don't know, don't care, don't know when, probably in 2020. Because here's how I see it. With this 5th reign, Okada's going to beat Sanada, beat White in his rematch at Dominion, at Tentaku and Dominion respectively. Then he's going to beat whoever beats him in the G1 at King of Pro Wrestling. Beat the G1 29 winner. I'm going to assume that's going to be Jay White. Because after the Dominion rematch falls apart on Jay, the only way he's going to get another crack at the title is by winning the G1. And he's going to take every shortcut possible to get there. That would be defense 29. Then he'll beat whoever he has to defend it against at New Beginning. That's defense number 30. But when he gets to... But then, whoever wins New Japan Cup 2020, on April 5th, 2020, wherever they're going to hold that event, wherever they're going to hold that year's Supercard, on April 5th, 2020, in Tampa, if that's where they're going to hold the G1 Supercard, or in Fort Lauderdale, or wherever the next biggest arena is that ROH could hold ROH and New Japan could hold the Supercard. Or Okada will have to defend it there, and he's going to drop it. To who? Again, don't know, don't care. But that still means he's going to be holding the title for yet another year, which will be pushing his cumulative days as champion. Let's see. He's at 1,517 now. 23, 31, 54, 84, 115, 146, 176, 207, 237, 268, 299, 29 in 2020, days in February 2020. That would, let's see, 299 plus 29, 8, carry the 1. 328, 359, 364 days, 363 days, or 64 actually. And 1,516 of that. He will have pushed his cumulative reign to 1,880 days by next G1 Supercard or whenever, or Sakura Genesis, or whenever that's going to be held. And as much as I want to see him drop it sooner, the sooner he gets to Defense 29, the sooner he drops it. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, on the other side of the coin, however, ROH tried to out WWE the WWE, in my opinion. How so? Okay, first, the Women of Honor title match. It was decent for what it was. It was good for what it was. I predicted Kelly Klein walking out the Women of Honor champ. She did. What I did not expect was for Angelina Love and Velvet Sky to show up, or Manny Leon to turn heel and join them, and form the first female faction in Ring of Honor, the Allure. Basically, Beautiful People 2.0, as Madison Rayne had left Ring of Honor due to some creative disagreements. Refused to resign due to creative disagreements. Now, this is scary. If this is a way for Mandy to become the next Women of Honor champion, that's fine by me, but still, I'm surprised she's going to go about this playing dirty. Though, it's a nice double turn. Mandy Leon now a heel and Kelly Klein a face? This should be interesting. Then, there was the street fight. Originally supposed to be Juice Robinson versus Bully Ray. Gets turned into Flip Gordon versus Bully Ray. So I guess the knee injury prior to the Baltimore event was a ruse. And I admit, I did not expect Flip to be coming back this quick. But then it gets turned into a six-man street fight when Silas Young, Shane Taylor, Juice Robinson, and Mark Haskins get involved. With the good guys standing tall. I'm all for the good guys coming out on top, but not in this fashion, where it gets convoluted. Oh, and after the heavyweight the winner-takes-all tag title match, Enzo Amore and Big Cass show up. Well, to try and make a name for themselves. What's the deal with that? What's up with that? It's like they're trying to be trolls at every promotion this weekend. And we all know what happened to Enzo when he got carted out of the Survivor Series in LA in November, right? Then there was the main event. the ROH main event. The triple threat ladder match for the ROH World title. Which was, in my opinion, the weakest match on the whole card. And that's saying something. Because the Ring of Honor title matches I've seen, they were... and I've only seen 2 of them in person. Both involving Jay Lethal against Jay Briscoe and Dalton Castle at Best in the World 2016 and Honor Reign Supreme this year, respectively. Both were good. This one, while okay, did not have the magic that Michaels Ramon did 25 years ago. Now, I did pick Matt Taven winning, much to my disgust, and sure enough, he did come out on top and is now the 30th Ring of Honor World Champion. And he's got an immediate title defense coming up in 2 weeks. That being, he has to fly his ass to Tel Aviv to defend against David Starr on the Passover. On the night of the Passover. Which I find a little odd, to be honest. Oh, and then there was one thing I did kind of expect. Rush stomping Dalton Castle into the ground. What I didn't, and Dalton turning heel. What I didn't expect in the former case, it took all of 15 seconds. Really? I get that Dalton's a former world champion going into a downward spiral, but 15 seconds? This is about as humiliating as Sheamus bro-kicking Daniel Bryan and beating him for the world title in 18 seconds at WrestleMania 28. And that was the opener on the card. This was the second match. I had to look it up. It only took 15 seconds. Overall, for a show that took about 5.5 hours, I'm going to be blunt. Ring of Honor, don't do this sort of thing again. This is more New Japan and the WWE's wheelhouse, not yours. You're better off with 3.5 to 3 to 3.5 hour pay-per-view events. No more, no less than that. I get this was a joint show with our brothers from the Orient, but please, don't pull something like this off next year. Good show overall. I gave it an 8.5 on the TwitWow live reaction. But looking back, this thing is at most a 7.5 out of 10. The show is a 7.5 out of 10. The New Japan stuff was great, but the ROH stuff kind of dragged it down a little bit. That's it for me this morning. I'm done. I'll come back later with another video on a different subject. Goodbye. Good night. Bang, and God bless.